objectives.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. And just to echo Cheryl's sentiments, thanks everyone for joining us today. We feel like this is a very time-sensitive and appropriate session for us to have right now. Our objective for this session is to help you prepare for your Microsoft Dynamics GP 2015 upgrade. Recently, we provided a webinar that discussed some of the features of GP 2015, so we're really going to only highlight that, but what we want to do is really help you understand what you need to think about as you prepare and you go through the process of upgrading to GP 2015. So many times you're asking the question, why would I upgrade? And it's actually a little bit more of a complicated answer than it used to be in regards to the more rapid release of products that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But generally, you can break it down into four categories. Number one is making sure that you take advantage of the newest and latest functionality and product enhancements. And so we'll talk a little bit about what's in GP 2015 that you need to consider for this upgrade. There's a lot of materials available as well, whether that be on partner source or you can get from Socius in regards to new functionality, and you can then determine how that might apply to your organization. The second issue is supportability. And what we're talking about here is really Microsoft mainstream support. There are also plans with Microsoft that are more extended support. And many of you may say, well, why do I care about Microsoft support? Because I work with Socius. But, you know, ultimately, we want to make sure that you're on a supported product in case you have an issue that we're not able to solve and that we can use Microsoft as our backup in cases like that. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about where many of you may be. So just to go back quite a ways, GP 10.0, support ended for that on the 9th of October in 2012, so that was quite a long time ago. On the supported products that are available, GP 2010, most current version, Release 2, will be supported through October of this year. And so that's why this is very timely as you start to plan your upgrade, as the mainstream support for GP 2010 will be going away yet this year. Also, for any of you that may be on GP 2013, that will be supported through April of 2018. And then lastly, GP 2015 will be supported through April of 2020. So as you look at this, you can probably tell that Microsoft has a 5-year window of support for mainstream support for each of their products. And so as you plan for when you should upgrade and so forth, keep that in mind. And it is very, very important to make sure that you you stay current. The other thing is you want to improve efficiency and do more with less. And I think 2015 really talks to that issue more than most, and I'll explain that in just a couple minutes. And then also, you've invested in Dynamics GP as your mission-critical accounting and business management solution, and we want to make sure that you are maintaining that investment and getting the most for your dollar. So first thing I thought I would do is just kind of give you a sense of the roadmap that Microsoft has released for Dynamics GP. So you can see starting in 2012 with the release of GP 2013, and that was December of 2012, there was quite a bit of functionality that was released, and part of that was the web client, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through this process. They added new functionality, and they added a tool called the Business Analyzer. I think that's a tool that you should be considering as you use, as you look for options for analyzing your business data. Then, as time went along, you can see that a very important release date was the GP 2013 R2 release, which really took 2013 to a new level. And some of the things that were introduced there were what we call identity management, which is moving us toward a single sign-on capability so that you log in with your credentials into your system and it logs you right in. You can log right into GP using those credentials. Also, the introduction of workflow, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because that does play a role in your decision on GP 2015, and also the concept of added efficiency and flexibility. And then also, one of the things that's very prevalent today is Office 365 and gaining efficiency using Office 365. So we want to make sure that you're taking that into consideration. So now what we're talking about is GP 2015, which was released just past December. But you can see that there's a roadmap for later this year with GP 2015 R2. And then toward the end of this year, if not the beginning of next, you'll see some new features as well and new functionality. So this is kind of the new way that things are going to work with Microsoft. In the past, the upgrades came about every 2 to 3 years. There really wasn't much functionality or anything added in between. Microsoft decided that they would like to be able to release more functionality more often to allow them to answer the requests that people have for new features. And so you should expect that you'll be seeing minor and major releases on every 6-month cycle, thereabouts. And so it's going to be all the more important that that you keep up to date on what's going on with the product. And we certainly at Socius want to make sure that we can help guide you there. So there were really 3 big pillars of functionality that were kind of highlighting the GP 2015 features. One of those was expanded workflows, and this is where I really think that as you think about the reasons for upgrading and adding efficiencies to your business, this is an area that I think is very, very important. And there are now workflows between GP 2013 R2 and 2015 around financials, purchasing, sales, payroll, and project accounting. So if you're using any of those areas of the system, there are some new workflow functions that may actually be useful for you, and we certainly want to make sure you're thinking about that. The idea of a single sign-on, we talked about that, and this really starts to play in just greater efficiency and ease of use. With the release of GP 2015, there's now Azure or Active Directory integration that allows users to work seamlessly across GP, also in Office 365 and other cloud-based applications. So the web client certainly plays a role in all of this, and so we can talk about that in more details as we go as well. And then lastly, this is an area called service-based architecture. And the main objective of service-based architecture is plays to your benefit in lowering costs and time required to create or modify business solutions built on Dynamics GP. So it allows developers to create their solutions more quickly. And one of the big movements that you'll see as time goes along is mobile activity, whether that be individuals entering time via their phone or a tablet, and much of this will also be cross-platform. One thing I didn't mention here is the Business Analyzer, which is a way to basically visualize data activity, and it actually is released today, and it is available on both Windows environment, but also iPhone and iPad as well. So I wanted to talk about some of the major changes. So, and this may affect a number of you. The business portal has been discontinued with the release of Dynamics GP 2015. So for any of you that were using requisition management, order management, time and expense, time and attendance, any of those workflow tools that you may have been using in the past, when you upgrade to GP 2015, you're going to have to move to a different option for that. So what Microsoft has done is much of that business portal workflow has been replaced with inside the application workflow functionality. And this has actually gotten some very good reviews in regards to the user base that has looked at this and it's considered moving to it. So now within Dynamics GP 2015, you'll have the ability to do requisitions, also what's called project time and expense, time card entry that interfaces directly to payroll, purchase order approvals, vendor approval. So it's really, think of that as more of a vendor onboarding approach that allows you to have those controls. Batch approvals, so before you can post, you can actually have batches go through an approval process. So your general ledger, payables and receivables, those batches can all go through a workflow that requires an approval before the final posting can take place. And then on the HR side, there are a number of self-service applications around benefits, setting up direct deposit, employee skills and training, employee profile, and the W-4. So all of these tools really empower the employee to make updates, but don't be afraid, because this is all through a workflow process. So it's like submitting the change, but HR has final control over when those updates actually do provide a final update to your solution. So one area that is a little bit different in how Microsoft has decided to handle it is the tool order management. That tool has not been replaced by an inside-the-box GP solution, but I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that there are third-party options. So order management was a tool that allowed a company to empower some of its trusted customers and its sales team to enter orders into the system via a web browser through the business portal, and it had workflow functionality. That order management data would then fill orders inside of Dynamics GP and sales order processing. That isn't going to be replaced. I think a lot that had to do with that is a small user base of that tool. And so please, if you're using order management, if you're thinking of moving to GP 2015, we certainly want to make sure you reach out so that we can give you some information on what your options may be. And then lastly, for any of you that are on 2010 or prior that use FRX, FRX is no longer a Microsoft updated or supported solution. It was with 2010. So as 2010 comes to an end of its life, FRX is already a non-supported solution, and you'll need to make a change there. The natural change will be to move to what's called Management Reporter, which is the replacement for FRX, or there are a number of other solutions that you can look at as well, but certainly most of our clients have decided to move from FRX to Management Reporter. So as you look at some of what's major, what really changed that would affect you if you're on 2010 or prior, the FRX change, you no longer have the option of using FRX in conjunction with GP 2015. Now, I've heard of some that have tried it, and they may actually be able to make it work in certain ways, but it is not a supported platform. All right, so I want to change gears a little bit. Now that we've focused on some of the major enhancements to GP 2015, I really wanted to talk about some of the things that you should be thinking about as you plan for your upgrade. So number one is downtime. As we do upgrades, many of you do that upgrade during the week, during business hours, but you plan for it, and you know that it's going to take a certain amount of time, and you just need to plan around that downtime. There are also options for you to do these types of upgrades over the weekend, and so certainly keep that in mind, and let's talk through that as you start to plan for your upgrade. Also, some of the other things you got to think about is the risk of a failed upgrade or doing a test upgrade. And I would tell you that a large percentage of our clients actually do a test upgrade first. with the idea that that will uncover any problems that we may encounter, but it doesn't jeopardize our production system. So keep in mind that you have the options of doing a test upgrade. As you work with Socius, will typically, in the cases of upgrades, will have what we call a pre-upgrade meeting to kind of work through what your solution looks like in regards to data size, modules used, reports that are modified, integrations that you may have, so that we can get a good idea of what that upgrade is going to take. And we'll work together with you on that. Other things that you need to consider are hardware and SQL Server upgrades. I have a screen here in a little bit that talks a little bit more specifically about some of this, but just know that Microsoft has a set of system requirements for each new version as it comes out, and so we want to make sure that you are aware before we go into the actual upgrade process. Another thing that you need to consider is replacing inefficient or legacy functionality. So if there are processes that aren't exactly what you're looking for, we certainly can talk through the idea of, is there new functionality in the bundled solution that you receive, or are there better ways of approaching that, and should we make that part of the process of upgrading you to GP 2015? Another thing that is really important to consider is the idea of third-party modules, or what we might call ISVs, or independent software vendors. Many of you out there use one or more of them. There are certain requirements that those partners, certain time requirements for those partners, but you need to be aware of, and we need to work together to make sure that those third-party products are available before we plan the upgrade. If you're on an old version of GP, and that would be 9.0 or earlier, which I hope you're not, and most of you won't be, there are some changes in security, so you need to think about your security model and how that's set up. And even if you're on a version 10 or later, if there are concerns that you have around security, we certainly need to talk about those and determine how we want to configure the system to meet your objectives moving forward. If you have custom code, and some of you do, then we need to talk about that. There's a variety of ways of doing customization and writing code, and some of those translate better than others, but they all require attention and look at and testing as we go through the upgrade process. Also, if any of you have VBA, or Visual Basic for Application code, as part of your solution, and you're thinking about the web client, those two don't work together, so you cannot use VBA customizations on the web client. So you want to make sure you keep that into consideration as well. Other things are integrations. Do you have existing integrations? Are there integrations you want to build? And then lastly, your reporting. GP provides a plethora of reporting options, and you want to make sure that you're aware of those. And those have expanded over the last several versions as well. So that's something that as we talk about, whether it be going from FRX to Management Reporter, or whether it be considering looking at SRS reports or Excel reports or other tools, we want to make sure we talk that through so that we know what's available for you. So all of those are things that you need to plan for and take into consideration as you look into doing this upgrade.
We do have a couple of questions coming in, Jeff, if you want to take a break here.
I would be glad to.
Okay. We use RecLogic, a third-party purchase order module. Will we be able to continue using it if we upgrade to 2015?
The answer to that is yes. In fact, I've been working very closely with Rich Fowler from the RecLogic team, and last week at the Microsoft Convergence Conference, they released their, or they announced the release of their GP 2015 compliant solution. So there may be an update that needs to be done to RecLogic as well as part of that process.
And what options are available for converting VBA code? Is there an alternative that maintains the same level of functionality?
There are always options in regards to that. It sometimes, depending on how you're moving forward, one of your options would be to not use the web client but use the traditional client, because then you can continue to move forward with the VBA code as is, or make modifications based upon changes between 2013 and 2015 or whatever version you're on. So that's one option that we would always look at. There are other development tools that are out there. Some people do .NET development, and there's dexterity development, and so there are a variety of different things. So the first thing you want to think about is, first of all, has that functionality been added? Number two, how do I want to use GP in the future? Through a browser? Do I want to use the traditional client that I've been using in the past, etc.? But all of those variables will lead us down the path.
Okay, I think that's it for now, so we're ready to continue.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. All right, so the other things that I wanted to make sure we took into consideration is your budget considerations. None of this happens without a cost, right? So one of the things that we always want to make sure that we're very open with you about is, if you use associates to assist with your upgrades, you want to make sure that you plan for those consulting services. The upgrade preparation, are you going to do a test upgrade? And then the production upgrade? Is there any additional post-upgrade training and support that you need? So those are all things that could affect the amount of money that ultimately this costs moving forward. So one of the things that we do is like to have, like I said before, a pre-upgrade meeting. We typically would have a functional and an installation consultant involved in that meeting, and the purpose would be to understand where you are, where you want to be, and how we're going to get there. And then associates would be able to provide you with an estimate of time and investment that it would take to get there. Hardware upgrades. When it comes to hardware, as for many of you that have been on GP for some time, you know that the requirements evolve because of the hardware evolution, but also because of the software evolution. And now you have a number of different ways for deployment. So when I say hardware upgrades, one of the ways that you can avoid some of that is through taking GP to the cloud. That allows you to have a longer life cycle with your hardware, and that's certainly something that I think we could consider, or just using the Dynamics GP web client. So as we talk to you about that, that's something we'll want to make sure that we consider, because that will also affect the budget. Many times our clients are actually moving from an old server to a new server because the server may have been in service for a long time, or to meet the new requirements, and so it does take time to move your data from one server to another, and so that'll be a budget consideration as well. SQL Server upgrade is another thing. I'll talk in a minute about what the SQL requirements are for Dynamics GP 2015, but understand that there are that can be a consideration if you have to make an upgrade to SQL outside of the upgrade of GP. Customizations, I think we kind of just talked about that a little bit, and what your customizations are, what the nature of them are. And then also a lot of times what happens, especially with people that have gone, that are moving from some of the old licensing models to the new, you may receive new modules that you didn't have before that you may want to actually bring into the fold to continue to streamline your processes. And then also just getting you training on the new features and functionality to make sure that you're taking advantage of those. All of those things will affect your budget. All right, so in regards to the whole concept of hardware and infrastructure planning, this kind of takes the next step in what we were just talking about is now a good time to upgrade your server? How long has that server been in the production environment? Is it is it time to move to a new server? Do my workstations meet Microsoft supported configuration? That would be something you want to make sure that you take into consideration. Should I upgrade SQL Server? Should I upgrade from 32-bit to 64-bit from a hardware perspective? One of the things that moving from FRX to Management Reporter does is eliminates the burden of a 32-bit environment for FRX because Management Reporter actually is a 64-bit application. And then I really want you guys to consider, is it time to consider moving to the cloud? Get yourself educated on what that means. In many of our clients, it's a great alternative because it eliminates some of the maintenance and the infrastructure planning that you have to do. It takes the solution off-premise into either the Microsoft cloud called Azure. Socius has a cloud. There are other alternatives as well. And then also the Dynamics GP Web Client. Is there value in allowing your users to access Dynamics GP via a browser rather than the traditional method? And so I think all of these things are considerations that you want to look into. One thing that I took away from our meetings in Atlanta last week at what's called Convergence, the client conference for the Dynamics user base, is there's a lot of movement toward the cloud, and obviously that's a big initiative for Microsoft across the board. But also then being able to use Dynamics GP in conjunction with Office 365 and a tool called Power BI, which are all cloud-based solutions. And so Dynamics GP is what's called Azure certified, which means that it can run in Microsoft's cloud. It can also run on the Socius cloud and other alternatives. We do have a session coming up later this year that will talk about Office 365, and I think that's something you want to investigate as you move forward. All right, so I kind of wanted to give you just a little bit of information at a high level in regards to requirements. If you're running the traditional client-server GP, the client requirement or the workstation requirement is Windows 7 or greater. So no XPs, none of that stuff, no Vista. So Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, all of those will work fine in conjunction with Dynamics GP 2015. Server requirements, here we are Windows Server 2008 or 2012. Also, the SQL Server requirement, these are the three big requirements, are SQL Server 2012 or 2014 or greater. So this, as I said, if you're on 2010 or prior, especially, some of these may be new requirements that you didn't have back then, and so this is something that you may have to take into consideration. So you have to plan for it, you have to budget for it. One of the things that you can do is you can also find a full list of the system requirements on Customer Source. And so this is the actual link URL to the Customer Source system requirements. If you don't have access or can't get to this, certainly contact your account manager, and they'll be able to give you more information or get this information for you. What I like about the system requirements that Microsoft provides is they really provide almost 4 different scenarios based on volume and users and so forth, so that they can give you a recommendation that makes sense for your organization. All right. Cheryl, are there any questions at this point?
No, Jeff, there aren't right now.
Okay, thanks. So let's go ahead and move forward. So in regards to pre-upgrade steps, we recommend you prepare your GP company data, and I'm going to talk about a function called checklinks here in a minute. Also, if you can remove any unused companies, that will take less time for the upgrade if that data doesn't exist and we're not upgrading it. Like I said, most of our clients actually run through a test upgrade first. So one of the things that you can do ahead of time is certainly prepare a test environment for that. The nice thing about having a test environment and do a test upgrade is that your production system stays up and running. You work out all the kinks. You get all of your all your reports recreated or anything that needs to be worked out, and then the production upgrade is, I won't say it's a moot point, but it's a much easier process. Also, planning for downtime. So this is more related to getting the upgrade scheduled, determining when we're going to do it and how it's going to work. And again, this is really more for the production upgrade because the test upgrade won't require any downtime. Once we get into a test environment, we want to make sure we update and test the custom code as well. So regardless of what the source is of that customization, whether it's an ISV product, whether it's a VBA customization, whether it's done in what's called dexterity, we want to make sure that we walk it through its paces and get that all taken care of. Also, you'll need to obtain your registration keys. These registration keys are going to unlock a number of modules that you may not be using today. For some of you on more of the modern versions, you may not notice a difference in the modules you have, but it just depends on your existing licensing that you're on. And then lastly, we'll want to run some pre-upgrade reports. So one of the things that we do is we do pre and post upgrade reports to make sure that everything reconciles out. And this is really just an insurance method to make sure that everything migrated and upgraded as it was supposed to. One of the things I didn't mention here, and this is really more specific to those of you that may still be on FRX, is it's a really good time to go in and review the reports that you have in FRX. If there are any you no longer use, you can take those out. Also, for your rows and columns and reporting trees that you have, if they're no longer in use, feel free to take care of those. Many of our FRX clients may have had reports that are one-time use or testing or things like that, and it ends up making a long list of reports for which you only use a small number of them. So that's another thing that you may want to consider as part of your pre-upgrade steps. Also, this kind of is redundant, but are there any companies that need to be removed? When we get into the actual upgrade process, you need to make sure that you post, delete, or print all single-use batches because we want to make sure those are all done. You can keep your recurring batches if you use any of those. And you need to make at least one complete backup for all your databases before you upgrade. And so it's just like year-end processing. For those of you that sat in on that session, I can't emphasize enough how important doing a backup before you upgrade is. And then lastly, we talked about comparison reports. So what I wanted to talk about now is what I mentioned a little bit ago, which is this checklinks functionality. So you can see here what checklinks does. It really takes, it analyzes the relationship between files to find the data that exists in one but missing from others. Think of it this way: if I enter a payables transaction and I post it, there are going to be multiple files or tables that get updated in the system. One of them might update some summary data for the vendor, whereas another will be a transaction detail table. And so if a posting gets interrupted and you don't restart it or things like that, there can be some discrepancies. Really, the idea of checklinks is just to correct those discrepancies. But it can remove data or it can add data back, and you need to be aware of that when you run it. You'll get reports that'll document all of that. All right, so what can Socius do for you? Well, certainly it's, backup, 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 but really I think the great value that we bring to the table is experience and the use of best practices. We over the years have done hundreds, if not thousands, of Dynamics GP upgrades. We have a client base well over 500, and so we've done many, many upgrades, and then for some of you we've probably done many upgrades for just you, and so you know what the process is like. But our goal is to perform your production upgrade with as little interruption to your schedule as possible, and we have the experience and the team that can do that for you. All right, so I'm going to continue on. Upgrade tasks. It's important to install GP service packs on the current version if it's required, and I'll give you an example. The latest version of GP 2010 is Service Pack 4, and so for you to upgrade to GP 2015 from GP 2010, you need to be on Service Pack 4 of 2010. So sometimes you have to load a service pack to do the upgrade. And so that's something that your Socius installation and upgrade consultant can help you with. The other thing I guess I wanted to emphasize to you, for any of you that are on 2010 or 2013, there is a direct just one upgrade process to go from 2010 or 2013 to 2015. The reason I mention that is in the case of a client that may be on version 10.0, they're going to have to upgrade from 10.0 to 2010 to 2015. So that will take more time. That will affect your budget. That will affect the time taking for the test upgrade. But it's probably all the more compelling reason to do a test upgrade. The upgrade tasks are updating the data. Once you've done that, installing and updating any third-party modules. So again, prior to all of this, you want to make sure that you've made sure that all of your third-party products are available for the version that you're upgrading to. If there is custom code, obviously we need to reinstall that with any adjustments that we needed to make to it run. Also, another thing that really comes into play here is updating the modified forms and reports. And one thing in regards to these forms and reports, for many of you, this may be an opportunity to investigate the idea of Word templates for your forms. With GP 2015, they've pretty much completed the fact that all purchasing and sales documents, whether they be orders, invoices, picking tickets, purchase orders, all of those forms are available in a Word template form. And so this does give you more flexibility in the look and feel and the maintenance of those forms. So keep that in mind as well. If you're not using those and don't intend to, we still need to make sure that if there are any changes that affect those forms, that we test those out and make sure that they're giving the result we expect. Also, we're going to migrate you from FRX to Management Reporter. And I put a question mark there only if Management Reporter is not an option for you. Some people choose to do some other things. There are some ISV products out there that are available that will do financial reporting as well. But the lion's share of you use Management Reporter. And there is a migration that goes directly from FRX to Management Reporter so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. For those of you on 2010 or 2013 that are using Management Reporter, there are some updates that may need to be loaded to Management Reporter as well to give you the results that you're looking for and making sure that it's compliant with 2015 as well. So lastly, if you're moving to a new server, you want to make sure that you remap your shared files. So if you have a Dynamics shared directory and it's going to be on a new server, you need to tell Dynamics where it is. Also, we'll need to set up database maintenance and backup plans. Our installation consultants are very good at that, and then also set up a SQL database mail for notifications. So that'll be a task that we absolutely will help you with. The other thing that's going to be important is that you, on your side, take some time and ownership on on the testing process. So we can give you a list of reports that you should use to compare. So as an example, a GL trial balance, an AP aging, AR aging, an inventory stock status report, those types of things. And it really is a simple test to make sure that the results on the old version match the results on the new version. And so it's going to be really important that we do that. It's going to be important that if your custom code gets upgraded, that you are testing that out to make sure in your test upgrade that make sure you test that out so that you're getting the results that you expect. Because sometimes when there's an upgrade, maybe a table changed or something changed behind the scenes, and all of a sudden you're not getting the results that you need. That can be very detrimental if it's a production, a production critical process, and all of a sudden it's not providing you with the proper results. Like we said, test any custom reports, any that have been modified, and also your integrations. So I encourage you as users to really leverage the idea of a test upgrade to make sure that everything is providing you with the results that you need. Now, for some of you, you may say, well, I don't really have a lot of that stuff. I don't have any custom code. I haven't customized any reports. I don't do any integrations, and that's all well and good. But for many of you that do use that, we want to make sure that you take that into consideration. And at the very least, everybody needs to do their pre- and post-upgrade reports. So from an end-user rollout perspective, we want to make sure that all of the works, if you're going to be in the traditional GP installation method of client-server, that you update all of the workstations. And we want to make sure each user's workstation is up and functional on the new version. In many cases, depending on your staffing situation, we may actually we may install a workstation or two, and then your IT team or a key player on your team may actually do the rest of them, or we can do them all, and that'll be something that we work out as we plan for the upgrade. We always want to make sure that we show you what's new. So we'll build that into our estimate for your upgrade to make sure that you see the new functionality, whether that be adding Management Reporter from FRX or showing you workflow or whatever that may be. And then obviously there'll be go-live support. So once we've upgraded, making sure that you have ready access to the Associates team as you need them as things come up once you've gone live. So lastly, once you've done the upgrade, the idea would be here then, it's always a good time when you have new functionality or new options, or if it's just a time to reevaluate what you're doing with your system, there may be an opportunity for process improvements, increased efficiency, a security audit, implementation of new features or new modules. And so when we go into our planning session for the upgrade, we're going to let you know what's going to be new in your arsenal of modules available, and we can talk about whether any of that will be during the upgrade process or if we want to start to schedule something out into the future. So Cheryl, I think I've covered everything that I was hoping to. I'll let you either field questions or let me know if you want to go ahead and move forward with your slides.
Okay, yeah, it does look like some people are submitting some questions, so we'll give them a minute here. As a reminder, you can either raise your hand and we'll unmute your line, or you can submit them through the through your dashboard, through the GoToWebinar question box. This slide has a couple of additional items we wanted to mention. Upcoming events and current promotions can be found on our website, socius1.com. The sales productivity combination offering of Dynamics CRM, Office 365, and Power BI is running through June 2015. And a couple of upcoming events. We're co-hosting an Office 365 webinar series that begins next Thursday the 2nd. And also our next GP monthly user webinar will be on April 16th covering project accounting module. Jeff, is FRX supported in 2015?
No. And in fact, it wasn't in 2013 either. So the FRX commentary really kind of goes back to anybody that's on 2010 or prior.
And if you want to move to the next slide there, Jeff, this has Jeff's contact information. So if anybody does think of questions after the presentation, his contact information there is on the screen for you. Jeff, any idea if effective dates will be making into management reporter anytime soon?
You know, that's a good question. Cheryl, if we can take that one and research it, I'd be glad to look into that.
Okay, we'll keep his name.
Okay. You're not the first to ask that, whoever asked.
Any issues with converting historical data?
No. During the upgrade process, it takes all current and historical data and migrates it. One other thing around FRX, if anyone is using the Forecaster module in conjunction with FRX, FRX actually integrated with Forecaster so that your reports could actually pull actual data out of GP and budget data out of Forecaster. With Management Reporter, it doesn't have that same integration, but there's a utility that actually takes budget data out of Forecaster and pushes it into the general ledger, and then Management Reporter actually reports on it from there.
Is there anywhere we can actually log into a demo of GP 2015 to see requisition workflow in action?
That's a good question. I don't know that Socius has anything like that, but if you're interested in seeing that, I know that I would be glad to work with your account manager and arrange a one-on-one. There may be some YouTube videos out there. I haven't seen many yet, but seriously, I think we could probably in 30 to 60 minutes give you more of a review of it with some assistance if that would be something you'd like to do. And I will tell you that requisitions is probably one of the hottest topics for GP 2015 because most people had a really hard time with using the business portal, and this is first of all more flexible, and second of all the interface is built right in.
Are there any major functionality differences between the traditional client and the web client?
No, as a matter of fact, the web client actually, I won't say it looks identical, but it is pretty darn close to identical to the traditional client. And so, you know, if you were to log into any module, regardless, the screens are virtually identical. There may be a tab instead of a button or something like that, but the look and feel is virtually identical.
Is web client slower for transactions?
No. It's all about configuration. And that's another thing, you know, just like requisitions, if someone's interested in taking a look at the web client, we can set up a short session and you can see the interface as well.
It looks like the questions are starting to slow down, so we want to thank everyone for joining us today. Again, Jeff's contact information is on the screen if you have additional questions. We'll be staying on the line for, looks like we have 10 more minutes, so we'll stay on the line for a few more minutes here in case anybody has anything additionally. But thanks again for joining us and enjoy the rest of your day.